All right. I'm going to talk about, we're just going to get into this as a series. So you can watch whatever you want, and I'm just going to go to whatever the limit is on the upload. Because if we're chasing as being as honest as we can and as forthright as we can, then it's not about hiding. It's about getting more eyes on the damn thing. And the quicker we could all be in the presence of more truth, the healthier all of society could be. And I think all of that is acting in great faith. Now, there's this enormous divide that's taking place in our society. And we're gonna keep things simple because that allows room for everybody to come along. And we're not gonna think about like your perspective or that's what you say, and coming to an idea without any good faith and without any listening. That's not okay. So if you get all emotional, I would recommend just pausing. Let the feelings just sit with them. Don't put any words. Don't get running inside. Just pause with them and let them pass. And then try it again. Whatever feelings you are having, they're for you. It's an insight for you. Okay? Now, if you can come up and you can articulate anything in here where you're like, whoa, you should have done this, you missed this opportunity, like, why were you thinking this way? I want you to put it down in the comments. The entire point of a court is to drag an idea so it can be seen in the light of day. Now, I've heard Mike Rowe talk about it. I've heard Elon talk about it. All these brilliant human beings, these awesomely exceptional human beings that have given society so much, and they have no interest in interacting with society ever again. They don't want any of it. None of it. Not having any of it. Done. I'm out. Fuck it. I'm out. And it didn't start with the laziest and the worst of the people. It started with the best of the people. And the reason it started with the best of the people because so many broken things are true that it's no longer worthy of the interaction. And as all of us are getting triggered, we're all clinging to all these little valid reasons, these valid, possibly valid aspects of why. And we'll get into why that's a big old possible anyhow. Let's just do it right now. Well, I don't want to lose track of the whole idea though. So see how ideas can go different ways. So if it pulls and you have a curiosity about it, put it in there, and we'll try to do a better job of filling it in. So if you want to learn about why somebody doesn't interact with society, you would need to ask them. Now I find myself in this bizarre and horrific position where I spent a lot of time praying for wisdom as a kid. I spent a lot of time in my life praying for a life like Robin Hood as a kid. And I didn't understand all the sacrifices that would mean. We'll briefly touch on Robin Hood. He loses everything. There's a reason he started living in the woods. He was attacked. Everything was took from him. When I read about Marcus Aurelius, I prayed, oh, shit, man. Do you got slaves anymore? Why would you be asking that? Are there slaves? Do slavery still exist? Well, no. Was that honest? Is that what you should be telling the kid who asked that question? What are you thinking? Why? You want to You would want to have a dialogue back and forth. But that's not what broken people do in the presence of something that's honest and true. It triggers them to react. Into the unknown, we either are, and we're going to keep everything simple. You are reacting from a position of fear, and that's self fulfilling. That's self fulfilling. You don't get strong because you spend time in fear. You are only practicing your future failure. And since we've seen in basketball coaching that what you focus on mentally has a way of coming to fruition, why would you ever want to spend any time practicing a failure? Right? Now, when it's not about the sexual act, for instance, like women, you get that so wrong. It's betrayal. Like when you get into like religions, and whether it's Jews or Christians or Muslims or Taoists or Buddhists, like the problem with a lie is that it harms the liar the most. That's a big problem. That's a really, really big problem. So why would I ever want to lie? That's not going to work out. Yet we all carry them. And lies are a result of us submitting to fear. Not enough. Could have done better. So the hierarchies, the priorities, through all of time, there's been a priority set that's worked for everybody who's ever used it, ever. I would want every kid to know that. Please understand this next part. It's not my opinion. Most of the things I'm going to share in here is not my opinion. If it's my opinion, I will say, I kind of think it goes this way. If all science and all religions agree on it, we're not going to talk about that answer as being my opinion just because it's more insightful, accurate, educated, well supported than the other. How we're going to attack an idea is not attacking the person. How we're going to attack the idea, because this is important, I need your help with this. I really do. Kids' lives are on the line, lots of them. So if we actually listen, which means you're saying, oh, and you're listening as though it is true. And the better you can do that, the quicker and more self-evident the lie becomes. For instance, let's say you were lying in a court and you said, oh, my husband's the worst. He's a drug-addled alcoholic who's criminally abusing the kids. The house is unfit to even have kids in. He's criminally abusing me. Oh my God. Now let's apply what I just said. All of that is true. Are there any facilities available in the state of Ohio, Summit County, or the city of Akron for women who are being criminally abused or need someplace to go because they're newly found homeless or they need counseling because something traumatic is happening to them? The answer is all of them. Many of these categories are a zero for a man. Doesn't matter if you were living in the most wealthiest of town and you gave them money for years and years and years, and you gave them all sorts of supplies and you hooked them up and you'd line up like building teams to get stuff built. And then as soon as that person needs help, get off the property. Get off the property. That's not what we do here. Get off the property. Now, let's say you lived in the state of Ohio and you lived in the state of Summit, in the county of Summit, and you were involved living in either the cities of Hudson and the city of Akron. There's zero anything, facilities, anything to help the man. And since the vast majority of suicides, homelessness are all men, how loving and caring is it for you to focus on the minority of the problem while you ignore the majority of the problem? That shit's evil. Now, the dilemma we end up coming into as humans endlessly, again and again and again and again and again, is we have knowledge devoid wisdom, which means you think you're so smart, you think you're so clever, and so you just fill it in and make a judgment, and you're just off and going. So if that court was actually listening to that and that was true, let's say an attorney was listening and that was true, why didn't they get like any of the authorities involved? Why didn't they get her any resources? Why weren't resources immediately brought to bear on behalf of those kids, since all of those are crimes? All of those are crimes. That the reality is that person was allowed to go meet with them endlessly for years to try to remove the ability of the father of her kids and her husband to get any legal representation later. It's true. Ended up picking on the one that gives the judge the most amount of campaign donations, which means he gets whatever he wants. Nobody cares. The Akron Bar Association does not care that Randall Lowry has this entire career of putting criminally abused kids in the hands of their abuser. Most attorneys, they become quite cynical. All that knowledge with no wisdom does not a healthy human make. That's so true that there's religions based on that shit. Our hero in this story, it's the fella. It's most definitely the fella. Our hero in this story moved to Ohio to volunteer himself in becoming a weather bell for whether or not the Constitution was alive. And when I saw a list of what are the worst states in the Union, the hero in the story is me, by the way. It was Ohio was on that list. I'm from Ohio. I think Ohio is amazing. I went from first grade through 12th grade in Hudson, Ohio. There were slave tunnels still open, still having a set of rules and being used. People bought the house because it had a tunnel that went right to their basement. There's a lock going to upstairs. That's easy enough done. If the family's going to sleep and you're nervous, you can come into the basement. Tomorrow, we'll have a conversation about you coming into the house. Right? And there's a set of rules. Now, if you grew up learning the set of rules to interact with slave tunnels in Hudson, of homes where the people in the homes, they're magic. Magic being you have enough skill set to make little tykes. Step 2, Reuter Stokes, a bunch of jet engine stuff, the Geiger counter, Mickey Thompson tires, American fireworks. Terex had an enormous plant building stuff, so it wasn't just white collar. It was a community. Everybody's going to reach further. Everybody here is going to blossom more because you're in the presence of so many people doing so many things that are healthy and correct. Ohio. Because I grew up in Ohio, my parents thought I was retarded and a problem, and he doesn't see fear, and went and had me get tons of testing. And turns out I'm a little, I look at it as the short sighted part. Like to get to see some things more clearly means a shadow remains deeper. And so there's other ideas that you just keep forgetting about. And everything is so beautiful, but it's off because you forgot this one idea. We're all human. We only can take that so far, you know? So, like Einstein couldn't tie his shoes. But that's an often trope. And it's often trope because there's a lot of truth to that. Just like there's a lot of truth that Einstein was trying to drive the idea that every human being is equal to his genius. I'll give you an example where I saw the proof of it. Chris, spelled with a K, last name Wellendorf, missing a chromosome, considered a nonverbal. He's retarded developmentally in every single way. They keep trying to change the word, MRDD. They just keep adding more things. There's some things that Chris could never do. It's just not where he was on the ride. But the way that you see an individual, if I look at you always from a position of fear, always projecting onto you my worst, rather than what we all owe each other, which is seeing one another in our bright light, looking at us like, oh my God, you're awesome. And you know who did that better most of the time? I don't mean like some of the time. If you could do that some of the time, our families wouldn't be failing. If a wife looked at her husband in the best light, is she still just as wet to get pounded out by a neighbor, by a friend, by a bar, by a sex club, by a relative? And the problem isn't the sexual act, it's the act of betrayal. And the problem when, as societies, we carry a lie, we make easier the distortions of the betrayals. When, as a species, if we can't understand, but 5%, 8%, let's say you're a really arrogant, atheist, out of line scientist, you're still not in the double digits. That means you got 90% or more, every single thing around you, you have no idea about. You know nothing about. That's a lot of room for magic. I mean, look at that golf. 9% versus 30%. Wildly different. It's an enormous parabolic curve, man. So when I moved back to Ohio from Colorado, and a huge shout out to Colorado. When I was in Colorado, I was working for GE, Cashway Electric Supply. And I bought a house up in Longmont, Colorado. And it was a house that I believe it was a dude who owned a dealership. Somebody who has like big cash flow like that. And, it was like his party house before he ended up getting married. It had a swimming pool, had a sunroom. Oh, it was awesome. Like you go there to feel good. Life's going to be great, man. And it was right on the corner. So the best school district, Like that house was just lined up for the best school district. And the mortgage was being paid ahead so that how interest works, there'll be good nuggets along in this story that'll be worthwhile to you. Like this one. Pay attention to this one. How interest works is when you make a payment, it has to first go to interest accrued, then to principal. If you increase the frequency of your payment, you're causing the interest rate to freeze. Every time that payment hits and it goes to interest rate, it's holding, it's pushing back on that interest rate. A lot, not a little, a lot. So I couldn't believe when banks automated making payments. Like, holy shit. You mean I don't need to cut checks anymore because you will take on the legal obligations of making sure a check for this amount was sent at whatever frequency it is I want? Yeah, that's exactly what we're just saying. I want it bi-weekly. Oh, well, I think we can only go down to weekly. Then I want it daily. I want you to do the same thing every single day. Oh, we can't do that. Why not? Who's in charge of that idea, and can I speak with them, please? And can we set up for you? You're able to do it weekly? Yes. Set it up for weekly on the mortgage, on my mortgage. I got one other payment. I didn't make car payments, you just buy them. And I love wrenching and rebuilding on stuff. I had a motorcycle payment. And so, like it's small money anyhow. So let's just pay the hell out of that thing. I get tires the same way because who cares what the interest rate is? As soon as you start making if 4 times a month you hit freeze on the growth of the interest, man, they don't even get to actualize like 1%. Who gives a shit? So, because I grew up in Ohio, I love Ohio now. This is important. You need to understand Ohio's given the United States so many amazing presidents. Ohio was referred to as the breadbasket, like outside, right outside this window, outside this wall behind me is God's breadbasket. It's just a miracle of a place. The natives that used to live here thought they didn't, lots of different tribes. They loved Ohio. So the first day of getting tested on whether or not I was handicapped, like my buddy Chris, he was missing a chromosome. These ideas all interlink. So just let them come together gently. Don't try to get ahead and start trying to guess where I'm going with it. Don't keep assuming that you know. It is through that assumption that all of us keep projecting forward an air created by our own fears. Call it our ego. And when you go and ask for help in Ohio and you're trying to be honest and true, they don't hear you. They don't want to hear you. Some of them can't hear you. Some of the public servants have gotten involved to be public servants because something horrible, and I mean horrible, happened to them when they're younger. And so when they're in the presence of that same horrible thing going on, fight, flight, fawn, take your pick. But we're not going to pretend it's thoughtful. I don't think it's fair to try to you put somebody into like a basic crisis mode as a living creature, and then you want to hold them on top of that accountable for not being able to respond correctly. Completely fine for you to be a prosecutor and do that. Completely fine for you to be a sheriff, a chief, a judge. There's no accountability. No accountability. None. And you know how I know it? Because I went to him and asked for help again and again and again. Remember the story with the hero. We just got to kind of give it some shape here to it. So I got on John Glenn's list because he was Ohio. He loved the state of Ohio. He was incredibly healthy. I thought he was amazing. My heroes in comic books was the Hulk, Iron Man, and Captain America. For obvious reasons. For me, the rage of the Hulk was not so much me denying my shadow and that like overcoming and taking me over. It was because when there's a lot of violence and abuse present against you, you get a lot of lying and gaslighting from the world. So when you learn to become empathetic, when you learn to become hypervigilant because you're in such a horrible, unsafe, unhealthy environment, your gut, your tuition, it's not off. It's magic. It's your superpower. It's dead on. And everybody around you that's high on the pyramid of supposed to caring about you and keeping you healthy are just lying to you about everything in every direction. Go. Now, part of that drives, it's true, it's part of the advantage of being in the exceptional category. I think of think of which we all are, by the way, but I think of it like a symbol. Like if you say, well, most people fall in the middle, we'll make that the middle of the symbol where it like curves up, like curves up, comes down. That chunk right there in the middle. That's the average. That's where most of the people, most of the time, are going to be. And then you get this like awesome, like weird, like on the fringe distribution. If you're right in the middle, what do you know of it? So part of the reason we're social creatures is for me to be healthy, I need the viewpoint and the presence of my neighbor, of my friend, of my family, right? And the goal isn't because one portion is going to be correct. The goal is because you get enough portions present that have enough correct about them. It allows you to see and realize something and adjust and fix your perspective. We're social creatures. Now, I owe everybody around me my best because we're social creatures. It's that unfinished pyramid, man. It happens in all sorts of categories. And it's totally cool at any point to be content. That's not to pretend the pyramid's finished. That's for somebody to be like, dude, the fishing was good. I was hanging out with friends. I don't want to get into all that. And that's the magic of the United States Constitution. It defines the language of tyranny through all of time. When any government violates the First Amendment, they are behaving as a tyranny as defined by number 1 of the United States Constitution. But we'll get to that idea. So John Glenn took really serious in Ohio that he had to make recommendations to like West Point, Port Benedict, Annapolis, Coast Guard Academy. You got to make recommendations to this stuff. He's a senator. It's his job. He wants them to succeed. He did not join the United States military because he lacked love of this country. You know who was a gorgeous group of human beings? The aviators of the United States military. Beautifully exceptional. And he was the best of the best. His space career was ruined because everybody loved him. And you don't want to take everybody that you love and blow them up in the sky. Grab that grouchy son of a bitch over there. So when my parents had me tested to see, because they're broken, and so to be in the presence of something that's honest and true triggers the broken. That's why so many parents trigger and then they smear again into another generation's all their own shortcomings and fears. Because heaven forbid you be healthy, happier, more free, healthy. The mentally ill and evil doesn't want you healthy, doesn't want you free. They need you to be predictable. They need you to have a list of needs. And you know how you keep a list of needs going? By making an organism that only exists because truth exists. And convincing them to carry so many lies. Like, truth is just washed away. The people that founded the United States of America did not hold themselves as the highest thing on the pecking order. Benjamin Franklin funded the buildings of a ton of churches, and he's like one of the lesser religious fellas. He was amazing at business. America, world. Learn to ask your customer good questions. Help your customer to discover what their problem actually is. Most of the time they come to you and they say, oh, I want this. But they don't have enough knowledge. They don't have enough skills to know what they want. They haven't even identified their problem. Help them identify the problem. If you do just that, where else is your customer ever going to go? The same idea was supported by Carnegie. It's why the idea of a corporation in the United States of America is a fundamental lie. Because freedoms have obligations. You get to be a cell in a solar system because the vast majority of the atoms in the solar system are in the sun. Jupiter's number 2 on the list. So, see how we get all these distractions. I wrote John Glenn because my grandfathers found out that one of my superheroes as a kid was the Hulk. What do you like about the Hulk? Oh, you get to just smash shit. You get to go at something with everything you got. Everything you got. Just as a tirade. There will be no editing. There'll be no holding back. There'll be no suppression. Why do you like Captain America? That dude dives first on a grenade. The only reason you win is anything is because that Alexander the Great would go to the weakest part of the line and or the part of the line where the best could do the most good. So it was constantly bringing the absolute best to bear right where the importance was needed most. He wasn't sitting back in a camp. He wasn't sitting in a radio. He wasn't sitting somewhere looking at satellites. He was on a horse going way the hell deep into the enemy, making his best friends have to fight harder, or they're going to watch their king and their best friend die right in their presence because they suck. You go hardest at it as you can. That Marcus Aurelius dude didn't feel that much differently about it. I didn't want any temperance. My grandpa told me that you want to run faster, you can't just keep trying to run as fast as you can all the time. Why not? Why not? Well, it's not sustainable. Yeah, but who knows what's sustainable? Can you from a young age deny the baby the boob and they just desire boobs for the rest of their lives? But even at that age, my argument with my grandpa, well, can women make milk forever? Well, yeah, I mean, they had wet nurses. It's not forever. You got to have a kid, and then your milk comes in, and then you just keep it going. As long as you keep it going, it keeps going. Huh, interesting. So you mean if I learned to sprint all day, every day, then that would just be my normal? And we would adjust because we're such an adaptable thing? Science, it turns out, science, like Jordan Peterson's thrown out this idea that science lacks the abilities to put limits on the potential of what it means to be a human being. We're that incredible. Albert Einstein, right? You, me, all of us are his equal. We're equally genius. And the proof of that is that guy missing the chromosome, right? That guy, that retarded fella, Chris, he is not in the middle of that distribution. He's way out on an edge. Me knowing that, and also knowing that when you look at another human being, you should look at them in the best light. You should assume what's taking place is honest and true, like he isn't lying. He lacks the development to do that. You know how healthy it is? Go become successful. Go have a bunch of money. And those people, the affluent, are distorted by their affluencies. They know it. This guy couldn't do it. He couldn't even carry that. He was like guaranteed a health because he couldn't carry a distortion and a bad habit. How miraculous is this? I looked at, he's got a brother. The brother cared for Chris ever since Chris was born. From birth through grave. Tenderly loved and cared after. Enabled, totally enabled some. But listen, every caregiver ever is going to get it wrong and make a mistake. That's the joy of being a parent or a kid or a business owner, is the failure is inevitable. That's where the learning takes place. That's where you get to let go of something that's like, that's not true. So when we want to pretend as a group that we know, I know why. Well, why did that take place? I know why. The why doesn't matter. If all the atoms are in the sun, and then if you said, I'm an atom, is there some place in the solar system I'm likely to be? Yeah, a huge number. Like an A answer, like 90% about, it's in the sun. Okay, if you said the next, if I just know that and get that small little bit right, just that, I'll be right like 90% of the time. Yeah, well then I'm good. I'm good. What do you mean you're good? You don't want to hear there's like 4 more months of coursework here. What do you mean you're good? Well, all right, where's all the rest of the atoms then? Is there an answer for that? Oh yeah, it's even higher. It's in the 90 percentile. Now, well into the 90s. You're a solid A answer for that. You're in Jupiter. Now, since if you could know all of human knowledge accurately through all the time, we know less than 10%. We all know you don't know shit that well, and I don't know shit that well. And AI, which is built on a language model, a language, right? Most communication, 90% of it's nonverbal. Even if you tried the best you could to convey an idea that's completely true, you're going to distort it. The listener's going to distort it. You'll miss the trees for the forest and the forest for the trees. That's the dilemma to it, right? So as a little kid, when you pray to have a life like Robin Hood, they're easy prayers to make because you're not paying any attention to the fact that everything gets taken from you. You'll forget that when everything's taken from you and you're betrayed deeply, deeply by the king of the land. You're going to be forced. I get that I'm in a house right. I'm in a home right now. A house. The people that spent like half a century living here have passed. And so that's why I'm just torn between home and house, because the difference of that. And the reason I'm thinking that way is I'm really am trying to be as accurate as I can. So there is a Pareto distribution to damn near all our problems. Now, the magic of the United States Constitution describing tyranny is a problem when it's uniformly present. That's a huge problem. Not a small problem. That's a huge problem. And how awesome is it that First Amendment protects what's in here, supposed to protect what comes out here, what goes in up there at the camera. It's supposed to protect that. So anyhow, my grandpa finds out. He gets my other grandpa. My mom's dad and my dad's dad were friends with each other for a huge chunk of time. They liked each other. They'd go dancing together. They'd have fun together. They're wonderful, amazing human beings. Amazing. And they got a glimpse into whatever I was going to become when digging around. You're a little kid, you're discovering things that are new. And one of those grandpas, I discovered pictures that he took in World War II. And I couldn't understand what I was looking at. So you just are all of them like this? So I brought the box down. And as soon as my grandpa saw that box, he was different. All sorts of masks went away. And something far darker was present. And so he just wanted to shut down that whole moment. And he did. And then he got immediately on the phone. Because the other grandpa should know about this. He was in World War II. I don't know what to do with this moment. What do you think? What would you do? They were working together. And so they took me out. Get some calories, something delicious. chit chat, chasing truth. And then once we were chit chatting, then they started asking questions about me in those pictures. How'd you find him? What were you doing when you were looking for him? When you ran into him? Just asking questions, trying to understand. Not looking at me like they love me. So they haven't spent any time around me. So the amount of assumptions they're making, I know why. How often do you hear that, world? It's not working. If you're not willing to agree in the truth of the sun and the truth in Jupiter, who gives a shit what you think about the darker half of the day when the stars of the Milky Way are more balanced? That's not what makes your existence possible. You're sunshine dependent. Oh, it makes you sad that you take life. Too bad. You can't catch sunshine and make sugar, so you're consuming life. So you want to be responsible with that? Like, I started with an English longbow. Well, my grandpa's heard I wanted to be like Robin Hood, watching Earl Flynn, Robin Hood. Oh, Jimmy, that's a good one. Come watch this. And I started praying to have a life like Robin Hood. Praying. They weren't very religious, so they didn't think like, do you pray? Oh, yeah. Well, why do you pray? What do you mean? Why wouldn't you? He listens. Why wouldn't you? And then you pray for wisdom. When you pray to be patient, God answers those prayers with making you wait for what you care most about. Which means, as soon as you start developing patience, you are going to have to, you're going to learn why practicing love, kindness, their actions. Yeah, love can only take place when two people are present because of their actions. Actions. It happens, and you can do it when they're not present. But the most powerful place you could do it is while being present. We're not going to pretend that Jupiter is bigger than the sun. It's not. It's not. And it's kindness. All of them, by the way, obligate that you're trying to strive for the truth. I'm not trying to trick you up and win a game of semantics. I'm not trying to use and employ rhetoric or rhythms or some way to convince you or trick you or to force you. That's not what we're going to do right now. And it's important. It's important. And the reason it's so important is it's fundamental to that First Amendment. A word itself in any society is a distortion. It is a lie. Proof of that is in all the errors that AI has. If human beings are 90% lies, we're going to call distortions lies. It's different. A lie has intent. A distortion just is. But I'm going to attack you, listener, a little bit. I'm gonna needle that ego. Lies. Because Mother Teresa, I'm not Catholic. I'm not a huge fan of the Catholic Church's legacy. I'm not a fan, like, take the Methodists. They were all getting together and they're at some fancy meeting that they only have every so often. And this big building was, everything was, it was so, they're the best, and they're all coming together to do some good. And this dude stands up and gives the most amazing speech. How could you ever hear the word of God if you're hungry? How could you ever hear the word of God if you're thirsty? When fear is present, truth is diminished. That's why freedom is self-evident and inherent. So we need an anchoring. Now, whatever the hell I am, so all right, from one we'll get to the other one. Bring me back to my neighbor in Akron, and I think it's Tino, this dude. If you have interest, write down in the comments and remind me. And it's a cool little example of that right there. About commonalities, about coming together, about how you could be the most amazing warrior, you could be the most just amazing business owner, scientist, collecting, like, they get it. The idea was, if I can collect enough ideas and I can get enough truth, then I can set systems into motion that just keep seeding so much good so that everything can just get better and better. Well, yeah, but how do we know so many things can be good? Well, yeah, but there's commonalities. If all of us can agree, all of us badasses can agree on what doesn't work. We've all studied societies. What happens when your internal dialogue is made criminal? What happens when your verbal dialogue is made criminal? Not by the words the person chose to use. Like, in this case, a triggering way. Like, and I mean it this way too, where they're gonna stone the guy to death, and English humor is like, oh, stop saying Jehovah, you're making it worse. And the guy's like, Jehovah, how could it be any worse? They're all gonna get happy. He's gonna watch all his friends and family get happy, throwing stones at him in anger to slowly kill him. How could it get any worse? So anyhow, because, and there was one other moment from the youth that's helpful to understand in who I am too. It's helpful for me to understand it. That I got to meet my great-grandfather, and he looked just like me, and we were walking on a beach, and I spent all morning hanging out with my great-grandfather and my great-grandmother, and I was chucking these living things back into the water, because, like, once I understood they were going to die, it was almost like I could feel their distress, their anxiety, this great sadness. And so to start throwing some of them back in the water, it was like you're seeding hope. At some point, the organism, the mass of the organism, you could feel it change, like, wow, maybe it'll still work out. I mean, the tide's going the wrong way, but who knows? Maybe it'll still work out. And it felt so good. And I just was giggling. And I had tow hair, and I'm just grabbing these things and chucking them back. Later in that day, my great-grandfather, Jim, anything I own or have ever done, what would you like? What do you mean? Well, I mean, I have multiple homes. I have multiple cars. I have lots of money. Like, what do you want? Oh, why do you keep asking that? Well, why don't you answer? Well, because I'm not looking at you that way. Why would I look at you as what I can take from you? I'm so thankful that you spent the day with me and you liked hanging out with me. That's right. But a lot of other people in this room don't think that way. So could you answer my question? Oh, I want this little duck over here on a shelf. This silly little thing. My dad was there trying to figure out what to take. My dad was there to get angry because him pretending to know the why was more important than a child being happy saving a life. And as more truth became self evident in that moment, the more excited I became and the more angered and triggered my father became. Now, later, I hear about it like in a Hallmark card or something, or in a church talking about a moment. I'm sure I'm not the only human being who's ever walked down a beach and tried to save the life. There's a lot of human beings that are inclined that way. I'd say most of us, if not all of us, were at one point inclined towards that way. So since we can't all agree, and this is the portion, yin and yang. All of us are masculine. All of us have some feminine aspects to our personalities, to certain assignable traits. That is as equally true and valid as gender is binary and you got women and you got men. And they're different. They're different. They're different. And yeah, they also carry like a persona, as Carl Jung liked to refer to it. And at some point, like not everybody gets to integrate both sides. And so the portion that you lie to yourself about on the others, that's what you're going to marry. That's what you're going to fall in love with. How cool is that? You've fallen in love with a projection of yourself. So how smart is it for that you can't be kind to them, that you can't be humble to them, that you can't be grateful to them, that you can't be forgiving to them? That's all to yourself. That's all to yourself. And it's the more emotional, like, oh, that's my soulmate. The more you feel that, the more true, for sure, the true that is. And integration takes so much. Like one of my, this awesome dude that saved my life, I was tired of the pain. I was tired of the pain. How come when I'm happy, it means I'm happy and I'm most happy and I'm most happy because I'm most healthy and I'm most present. That's when I get attacked the most. Yeah, says Plato's parable of a cave. Yeah, that's exactly what that means. Well, I'm done. I don't want to be in that environment anymore. I'm lucky enough to have a cast iron pan. And I fell asleep with it like sitting by the edge of a fire. But I appreciate how hot that fire had gotten the dirt because of a bunch of factors. But anyhow, I ruined the seasoning on it, which is a sad day. So since I have access right now, why not re-season the pan? So my grandfathers try to figure out and get me to understand that there's better things to have than superheroes. And the reason for that, the reason they were looking at their kid that way, or their grandkid, was they were trying to ask questions to understand me. Trying to get me to ask better questions. Well, I think those comic books are a complete waste of your time. I know it is. What are you talking about? Because there's actual human beings that have lived, that have done more amazing stuff than those. That's all fake, one. And two, I've been in the presence and watched human beings do more great, amazing things than that, and didn't look anything like that. because they were present in a war. So they thought I should go find myself some heroes. I was like, all right, I'll go do that. And they let me. Hey, you figure out a hero? No, I'm having a hard time with it. What do you mean? How are you trying to answer it? Well, I mean, I keep learning about as many things as I can, and I figured at some point something would stand out. Well, why wouldn't you ask somebody where they looked? Why wouldn't you ask somebody like, well, do you have some? How'd you pick them? Oh, never thought of that. Never thought of that. Well, whose are yours? How'd you pick them? And one started sharing me an idea, and then when I asked the other one, he was like, nope, I can't tell you mine until you tell me yours. Go find one. How cool is that? Now, they wanted me to understand that me what like if I sadly, it is sadly, if I had shown up to the people who ran those camps, I'd have killed everybody who worked there and was involved with working there. Like, you know, you know what they're doing. Like, you installed the gas pipes and joked about what they were going to be used for. You're done. You're done. You're done. I would pluck you like a weed from the human existence. Why would I want your kids to carry that much darkness? Why would I allow that to persist? I'd pluck it like a weed. Thoroughly gone. No trying to fix it, no trying to live with it, no trying to love it, none of that. Pluck it, remove it, slaughter it. Well, we made them bury the bodies. Who would you have do that? Everybody that lived here in the town. If they would like food, if they'd like water, if they'd like shelter, if they would like any other basic needs to have help with, then they better all be out there digging. And I'm not going to make any of them dig. If you just want to sit there and not dig, that's fine. I'll sit and watch you do that, and I'll give you nothing and let you die. And my grandfathers were terrified by what they saw in me answering that. You can't become the solution by acting just like your enemy. They, they saw in their grandson at that moment failure, a failure of what an American is. Then don't tell me they didn't. We talked about it. It took me a long time to understand. Long time for me to understand why, oh my God, they're so right. In the meantime, I spend time praying to have a life like Robin Hood, Marcus Aurelius, so I could do that way better. The Indian culture, when Alexander gets there, oh, there's something to that. Like, there's some beautiful truth to that culture to distort, like, the truth that had found its way there. Like, there's something to that. I wonder how I'd get affected by it. Spending your life as a kid praying to have an existence, like think of everything that somebody had to go through to become a Plato, or to become an Alexander, or to become, you don't mean to tell me that I can learn everything that was best about their life because they wrote it down? Somebody wrote it down? I want to learn that. I want to learn that. And I wanted to learn it not because I was chasing why, but because I was trying to chase what is. What is? What is? So, are we now understanding one another that we're going to listen to each other as in good faith, that what the person is trying to express is true? Thank you. So, I'm not going to say who I picked as my hero because I don't want people to think more or less of somebody. And I don't, John would not tolerate anybody looking at him as a hero. Neither would the portion of him that earned the life title as an officer. Neither would the portion of him that learned the life title as a senator. And most certainly the portion like the John portion, the portion of him that's a husband, a portion of him that's a father. Oh. And my grandfathers would have agreed with him for all the same reasons. Anyhow, John was mine. And so I started writing him. I got a letter back from Ronald Reagan. Everybody told me that, oh, no, he'll never write you back. You'll never get anything. And, oh, it's somebody, it's not even him. It's no way it's him. Why not just assume it is? Why not write back like it is? And if it worked for a president, well, that means I got pretty good odds with John. I'm writing him. And it turns out that one of the things that the public servant portion of Glenn, combined with the amazing human being of John Glenn, that was, we'll call him John, he took serious his oath. He really wanted to find the best to feed into those schools. He took that seriously. So we got tests around here that show us exceptional kids with great. I want that. I want them. Get those on my desk. So what's the odds that he would write back to some kid that was already on his desk because of another list? Well, I think the odds are higher that he might notice you. That certainly could be the case. What happens if you live in the same town as a Voinovich? Another awesome person from Ohio. Do you think that increases the odds or diminishes the odds? Part of the problem that somebody lives a life that's extraordinary is you overinflate their extraordinary portion because you're not willing to just accept the fact that you didn't give your best. Your ego wants you to pretend that I know the why. You wouldn't have gotten it wrong if you knew the why. To get it right, that's daytime. All you need is the sun and Jupiter, ta-da, and the problem is solved. Never need to know why. What you need to know is what the hell's going on. What is going on? What is actually happening? Well, why'd you do that? Like the whole way we're taught in this broken society is to reinforce the air. What do they do to you in school? You don't know how to spell any words. All right, spell, yada. The first thing they have you do is practice the mistake. How dumb is that? How unhealthy is that to grind in fundamentally a mistake right from the get-go? Some teachers, they'd be like, they're a guest. Like, yeah, they used to do that. We know better. We don't do that anymore. You have them write down the correct word, spelled correctly. You reinforce it all the correctly way. You need, the pharmaceutical industry was suggesting you need at least 8 impressions. You might need 10. High frequency, make the duration longer. It's apt to be there for, no, you wouldn't do it that way, right? So when you ask why because you failed, how would you know of it? You haven't even gotten your perspective correctly by no longer being the loser, and you're going to pretend that you have any right to understanding of the why. That's insane. What would you know of it? Better, the more reasonable approach is you get working really hard back to figuring out what is is. I thought it was amazing when I got my Eagle Scout. John, Eagle Scout. I thought it was amazing when my hero, gave me a pocket United States Constitution. I decided I was going to read that every time a public servant was wasting my life. And that happens a lot in school. Everything is about wasting human life. You think the BMV is respectful of your time? Have you ever had to interact with a Social Security office ever? I defy you. Call the IRS with a question. See how it goes. You tell me how much value for your time you feel you have. So I read the shit out of that Constitution. For me to know something is a gift. I don't care whether we call that gift God or divine or not. I'm not fighting that fight right now. We're only going after what is, what we could actually know with a certainty. Beyond certainty. I want to leave the most amount of room for the most amount of people to come together. Because that's how you defeat tyranny. So to sit in a room in the presence of somebody giving a speech that's a lie, that's a horrible thing. If you know better, that indifference in you is evil, Mother Teresa. And the whole point of me saying about like how I'm not Catholic, I have a lot of good reasons to not be a fan of the Catholic Church or Mother Teresa. But man, is that a beautiful, well-structured, the indifference to what we know is right. You know what you could go do. Why aren't you doing it? The indifference to what you know is right. That's the evil. If a human being was born that no matter how many good people you put them around, they always make the wrong choice. And I do mean always. They're pathologically broken. They always make the wrong choice. Some portion of humanity exists that's that way. Just like there's a portion that gets it incredibly accurate. No matter how screwed and overwhelming the position, they hold fast and they get it incredibly accurate. The majority of us are in the middle. And we sway with whatever we're in the presence of. So, how amazing it would be if you could be present and joyful, present and open, looking at others, trying to hear their best, looking at another as though you're seeing them as of their potential, of what they could be, of how amazing they could be. That retarded guy, Chris, that I brought up, he would be my evidence A for why Albert Einstein's idea is true. Dude spent more of his life being present than I figured out how to be present in my own. He saw the best in people around him in a way that, my God. I mean, I'm not naive. I'm not innocent. Not like that. Which is exactly why I'm protective of the innocent. It's important. Now, why would somebody want to pray endlessly for wisdom and endlessly to be like great warriors and then think that somehow, well, let's say at some point you wanted to do that. The most logical thing you do next is to figure out who's the greatest warrior of all time and how they live their life, how they base their decisions. You should set your goals in your life so high that you only have 50% chance of actually making it come to happen. It'll be important as you age that you aimed high enough. It'll be the longer you live, the more self evident of whether or not you're making worthy sacrifices. Is everything still a loss because you refuse to learn and grow? Are you unwilling to make worthy sacrifices? Now, the reason that these are so fundamental in those Old Testament is because these are things that have applied to human beings for as long as human beings have existed in a society. Aristotle does not disagree that much with the Torah. Plato doesn't disagree that much with the Torah. Everybody's chasing truth, the image of what's true. That's a portion that was kept alive and present with disregard to time. So these old things become even more important the older they become. So if you look through all time and you say, what are the priorities at work? You take care of you take care of your spouse, you take care of the kids, then you take care of work, then you take care of charity. So when my public servant attacks number 2 on that list, my wife, when it's willing to attack my kids, what would lead me to think for a second that it wouldn't be willing to attack me as a human being? And the other direction of that street, if my public servant is attacking me fundamentally as what a human being is, what are the odds they're not doing the same damn thing to my wife and my kids? Now, a disgusting failure in American history has been for all these people to take oaths to the Constitution and then not actually read them. That wasn't the mistake I was making when my hero, Mr. Glenn, hooked me up with a pocket Constitution. I read the hell out of that thing. I couldn't wait to show him. I want to think it was either red or gold, but I've noticed it on other books. It's interesting. You can see like when the edge of the paper has some color to it and you spend a lot of time holding that book open, you'll see the pattern of how you hold that book and interact with that book through time. You'll wear it away with your meat. I couldn't wait to show. Dude, check this out. Look at this. I never had somebody listen to you this good. I didn't expect to be reading it this much. My God, they all waste so much of my time. He was heartbroken. It looked like somebody just shot him. He just kind of like collapsed, like he couldn't. You know, as you get older, everything is a fight. And some just like knocked the wind right out of the sails and he just, boom, right in that chair. He was crestfallen. You mean you didn't? And when I saw it as a kid, all kids need outside validations. They're nervous. They're tender. They can't possibly know. So help me. Right? So I was giving them, what do you mean? I did this to do this to do this. The more he heard what I did, the more like later when we talked about it, like he got a beautiful insight to what it was I am as a human being. But he gave me that assuming that of all the people who would get why the Constitution is true, it's got to be this kid. I'll give him a Constitution and get in the habit of giving it away. He'll start figuring out how to get them. He can do it. Let's see what he comes up with. Hangs on to the book, puts reverence onto the book. Means I missed the whole damn point, doesn't it? I get along with everybody I've ever met who's religious? Because of the United States Constitution. No, dude, I'm not challenging what you believe. That's sacred. I don't, I'm not sure today's the day that we should be even talking about that place. But since you got a tender spot, I'm not tender. Well, you're angry. You're kind of attacking. Since you got a tender spot, at least, you know, I think as what's beautiful as an American is that relationship that you build with God through the distortions of created by our submissions to fears versus something else. The opposite of that. Whatever that is. Like, I kind of like the idea how Einstein phrased it, that there's no such thing as darkness. It's light or the absence of light. If truth is light, why spend any time worrying about what the darkness is? It's so dumb. Naming it, empowering it. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. All these assumptions human beings are so willing to build to pretend like that they know something and they're so developed. Lies on lies on lies on lies, devoid accountability. Just like that story of Babylon, or holy shit, the greatest evil is an unchecked intellect. Holy shit. Well, what's some bright kid supposed to do then? If that's true, what are we doing to make sure that young little Elon wants to value other human beings? That young little Albert, Jonas Kint, how's he being looked at? Disgusting Uden. How was Albert looked at? Now, Albert was like a complete advocate for peace. God bless him. He's better than me. I told you what my inclination was with a little kid with my grandpas. So when you start learning about, well, what do great warriors have to accept as, like, you're not a great warrior if you're just good at killing, but you have no reason behind the killings you're doing. You're just a successful psychopath that takes lives. Like, the great hero, the great swordsman, the great warriors through time. It's the same story through all of time and cultures for that character. You need to learn how to use a weapon and take life and then not do it. Not do it where? Not do it in the face of your enemy. I'll give you a beautiful American example of that. This guy called Crazy Horse. He would get in the range of the United States sharpshooter and cavalry, and horses are skittish things. They feel everything that you feel and just blow them out of proportion. And he'd go smoke pot within range while his enemy took shots at him, and him and his horse just hung out. Like, the amount less distortions and lies somebody carries who spends time in severely harsh environments, you don't have room to carry all those lies and nonsense. Like that brilliant young American who's climbing all those ridiculously hard climbs with no ropes. And I'm not encouraging people to go do that. I'm not encouraging people to go sit in range of your enemy and let them take pot shots at you. I'm not encouraging everybody that they should go and figure out how to become an Alexander the Great. One of the great warriors that's real high on my list of just a nerd that loves studying the histories of different things and philosophies. Um, he refused to touch a firearm. Join the United States Marines, the Devil Dogs, and you refuse to touch a firearm. And I don't know what it was of that 90% of that's unknown of what's knowable, by the way. So what's knowable might not be the sun, that might be Jupiter. So even if you could know everything that's knowable, how much do you know about our solar system if you remove the sun? You don't understand the sun, you don't understand any life on Earth. You don't understand temperatures on other planets. You don't understand why they're moving the way they are. Like, what could you really know of the thing? So, leadership in the United States is supposed to be taking place in the mirror. I've given out a lot of pocket constitutions throughout my life. And I've chastised a lot of oath takers. And when I say oath takers, I'm talking about human beings that took an oath to uphold the United States Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That last part was changed by just the last presidential. All enemies, foreign and domestic. And what defines an enemy to the United States? Any government that's violating the United States Constitution, which means the First Amendment. And here's where America has been a failure through all her time. Show me one example, one, where the United States has actually dragged through their justice system somebody because they have violated the United States Constitution. Slavery goes away and doesn't exist if somebody actually defended the first. You mean a slave is free to say whatever he wants? Yes. You mean a slave is free to have any religion they want? Yes. Well, you mean he's got a gun? Well, that's right. Well, that's number 2 on the list. It's exactly because the oath taker failed to have perspective of scope from the beginning. But you know what was present? A bunch of people who were abused by tyrannies, and the tyrannies of Europe, the tyrannies of Germany, are about the same size as the counties of Ohio. So why not rebuild all the same tyrannies about the same size in the exact same damn ways? Like, why would a state like Ohio ever need 80-some counties? Particularly back then when there's so few people. Oh, well, you do it to save people travel time. See, Jim, it's the same failed. You know what you do first? Let's say you're like John Glenn, and you're willing to go sign up and say, you know what? I'm going to take that oath. I want to defend the United States Constitution. You know the next piece of paper you sign? If you're in the Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Marines, Air Force, I don't know if the Space Force has a history of doing it or not. CIA, for sure, FBI. You no longer have any rights to the United States Constitution. What made the United States Constitution great was the fact that it was slaves coming together for the first time in human history to say, this is going to be freedom, and this is going to be what we defend. Can you show me examples in our legal system where this happened? Now, we're a republic, a snake that's supposed to feed on itself. The fangs of that snake is to be our justice system. Law enforcement, police, sheriffs, prosecutors. The entire system's to feed on itself. We make flags of cutting snakes into little pieces when they feed on we the people. So I'm asking you, America, is that what you've seen? You've seen your local prosecutor and your county prosecutor, definitely the state prosecutors, locking up tons of public servants. Police are arresting more public servants than they are citizens. And there's a good reason that doesn't occur. Because of a sovereign king, because of this broke and failed idea that there can be some entity that is above reproach. And you know who would think that? You know who would come up with that? You know who would enforce that error? Somebody who lost their constitutional rights day one. Day one. So how much more? I'm not wrong in saying that, by the way. And this isn't my opinion. We're chasing just what is. My opinion is even higher of those exceptional human beings who are forced to give up, pretend you can give it up on a piece of paper. Good luck with that, by the way. Good luck with that. The whole reason it's self-evident and true is because it's ubiquitous. Take away a person's right to sovereignty, to free speech. Good luck with that. It won't work. The United States Constitution is a cautionary tale to anybody that would govern that when they violate these things, they are setting into motion the death of themselves and the death of their own family. I'm going to pick on the American family because he was a liar. He made millions and millions of dollars as a liar. And because he lied all the time, guess what? His marriage wasn't so great. Because it won't work. It's based on fear. His whole approach to politics and advertising, everything was based on fear. Kid's life was based on fears and controls. So drugs are great, sex is great, something to cause more distraction, causing problems rather than being part of a solution. More attention, less work. Higher long-term costs. Whole family's dead. There's a lot of misery in that family's life. It's all unnecessary. So, all of us get to put however we want the balance between fear and whatever the counterpoint of fear is. And you get to shape your life however you'd like. And the only boundary that you shall ever have is you don't get to screw with my constitutional rights and I'm not going to screw with yours. And the only reason we have public servants in Ohio or the United States is to make sure that's true. So how could you ever pretend that the people who are charged with that right out of the gate are going to be like, oh, well, listen, there's this sovereign king, and this sovereign king rule says that, no, we're above the law. None of that has to happen. So you're going to make the law only available to those who can afford to purchase their legal rights? That's exactly what happens in a domestic court. You can have a domestic court break the law and go to the police, and the police will do nothing to aid you. County sheriffs will do nothing to aid you. I know because I did. The FBI will do nothing to aid you. Doesn't matter. You can go to the federal building, Cyberlink building in Akron, our hero in the story, right? You want to be like Robin Hood? He can go and ask for help from these people early and often. You know what happens if you threaten the life of a public official? It's a federal crime. They want to pretend it's a federal crime. Well, what happens if the threat for that life, everything being said, is true? You took my kids because of a gun hanging on a wall. I complied and you never corrected, you never nothing. You went right to the next violation. Why wouldn't I be organizing my neighbors to kill everybody involved in this? Why wouldn't I be willing to go to your campaign fundraisers and say that? Which I did. Why wouldn't I be willing to write that down and mail that? I did. Go ahead and marginalize me more and lock me up. Get the feds involved. I need help. I need help. And you know the one thing the United States government has failed to do, so far as this historian has been able to note, is actually defending the United States Constitution. The Supreme Court wasn't busy trying to figure out how we're going to protect the First Amendment while they pretend that slavery can persist. We're not going to pretend that public servants figured out how to enforce the United States Constitution when they add an amendment saying abolishing slavery. What are you talking about? Slavery would have already been gone if you had been enforcing the Constitution. For a company to infringe free speech is a federal crime. For any government to do it is cause for the people to kill everybody involved with that government. That's the whole reason. I mean, when you think of that as a Republican, you're like, holy shit. You mean to have a decent American? Every American in Ohio would have to kill Mike DeWine, Robert Yost, that's a governor, that's the state prosecutor. Names I wish I never knew. 2 senators. Every bit of every piece of congressional representative. Constitutionally obligated. Our government is seeding violence into we the people and then expecting us to go ahead and be peaceful with it. You're telling somebody who's religious that they can't believe in their religion and then wondering why they're picking a fight. You're telling a father, we're going to abuse your kids because it allows us to extort more monies and have influence more controls and do more damage to the family for profit. And you have no rights. And you get to watch that, but you don't get to kill everybody that's there. That's not true. Like, that's exactly what they're doing, which is why vets kill themselves. Clarence, it's this military guy who's been on the pointy part of the United States spear, who does a podcast trying to keep vets from killing themselves. He refers to it as weapons grades crimes. You come out of that building, figure out where you're going to post everything so you can kill every fucking thing that worked in that building, and you cut that shit down and you cut it today and you make it no longer fucking exist. Weapons grade crimes. He takes that shit seriously. Which is why he's so heartbreaking and tries to use humor and try to help people work within the system that we got. There's a price to being peaceful when you should be violent. It's a lot of accountability. The accountability I have is my Masonic brother who gets his kids taken away because he walks them to church. Doesn't matter, he's a PhD'd pharmacist. Doesn't matter that his gun rights are the reasons that they take his kids. Doesn't matter that I'm an Eagle Scout. Doesn't matter that I had a presidential scholarship to go to college. All the exceptional things I've done and the good things that I've done. I won a public award in Hudson for my Eagle Scout project. And Mr. Glenn seeded in my idea, not only giving away a Constitution, but why wouldn't you every year want to do an Eagle Scout project? Both are good ideas, and I've done a wonderful job towards both. Doesn't matter if you're that guy either. Picture of a rifle and a shotgun is going to be, because you know what? We care more about the safety of the kids. Everybody cares about the kids. Everybody who doesn't give a shit about those kids has pretended to care more about the kids then who actually has the most biological imperative to care for them, which is their father, not mother? The mother statistics through all of time are some of the most horrific things we must accept about humanity. We're not going to pretend we live in a patriarch when fathers have no rights. None. You don't have say whether or not that kid gets murdered before it even gets to leave in the womb. You don't have any say once that kid leaves that vaginal canal. You got nothing. And when they break state and federal laws, no one's coming to help you. City of Akron police won't come there. How is it that a citizen can threaten the life of 2 City of Akron police chiefs in letters and still get 0 aid for all the federal crimes? Still get 0 aid. Kids not being restored. Why do you think they did COVID? Let's keep chasing why. They're never going to get it right. Of course, a government that does not defend the United States Constitution, they don't defend it for the very people that want to serve it. What chance do they have of getting it right? You know how awesome a public servant would have to be in a republic where everybody, if they violate any of the Constitution, everybody there is obligated constitutionally to kill them. You know how amazing of a person you'd get? Andrew Jackson as a president didn't even, people come through the windows of the White House to go talk to that guy. He didn't put up a bunch, well, we live in a different world now. Yeah, filled with cowards, servants of fear, evil with their indifference. The most grotesque part about domestic courts causing people to kill themselves is that's for vets, people who were trained, people who have resources. VA hospital system sucks. You're a bunch of failures. You're failing your brothers and your sisters. And everybody knows it, including you. So stop pretending 20% gains is growth. But they have training. They get some medical care. They're getting something. Meanwhile, what does a poor person get? Well, I can answer that. Because that retarded kid that I brought up, Chris, I watched him get tortured to death. Because in a country that doesn't actually defend the Constitution domestically at all. Give me an example. A bunch of Democrats were for slavery. We fight a war, make that illegal. Were they arrested? A bunch of Democrats were all for Jim Crow. Oh, we'll write new laws to figure out, why didn't you just hold the laws they already broke to an accord and hold them accountable? You knowingly lie to the American public. You've infringed the First Amendment right to every single human being in the country. And if you do that as a public servant, you've obligated everybody in the country to come kill you. That's what the United States Constitution means. That's why we have law enforcement. That's why the snake has to feed on itself. Because as soon as it feeds on the people, you got a huge fucking problem. I'm not trying to encourage people to curse for cursing's sake. But I would argue that is exactly where you should use that word. That's a big problem. That's exactly what we have in Ohio. I was having all sorts of success in Colorado. My friends were doing fantastic. People I spent my day with, everybody is growing and they're touching their dreams and everything's working out. It's amazing. I'm going to come back to Ohio. because it's the most corrupt. Yeah. Well, sadly, like part of the dilemma of being raised in a broken environment is then you get a strong emotional reaction in the presence of something that's so wonderfully healthy and induces you to do the wrong thing. It just like induces me to do the wrong thing. And I'm not going to go into it out of respect of myself and for kids. But the mistake of going back to being closer to an abuser when you're still desperate for their validations, that ain't going to work out. And since even though she was living in Colorado, like there's full-time Salesforce people who don't spend as much time on a phone as she did to her mommy. That's not being present in Colorado. And there came up like this moment, like, oh my God, yesterday was so awesome. It was so wonderful. You mean to tell me we just feel like this every day? Well, close to it. I mean, there'll be some days that are a problem, but every day you learn and grow and things get better and you feel better. And then at some point, you're just so happy and excited to get up. Yeah, it's kind of exactly that. Well, yeah, but why would you ever go back and like, how do you keep going back to your parents? Oh, well, you don't. You have to let them go. I don't hold it against them, but you gotta let them go. Now, see, I didn't I didn't live with my abuser when I went to college. I went away to college, and I got counseling from 3 Jews, 2 women, and a man who came out of a concentration camp to become, as kids, to become counselors. That's a big advantage. Because my family was broken, I tried to spend as much time as I could in the presence of other healthy families, and I've been doing that my whole life. What a godsend that is. Mm, it's so nice. It's healing in a way. It turns out you don't actually need to be a brother to be healed by a brother. You just need to be in the presence of one. And it's why when I walked my kids to their school, we would hear people yelling out of a car, "You're beautiful. We love you. Never change." All sorts, like just yelling, giving out the most beautiful affirmations and testaments. And all I'm doing is being happy, walking the kids to school. You know how long it's been since some of those families saw a man doing something like that? There's one set of priorities that's worked through all of time. You take care of you, you take care of your spouse, you take care of the kids, you go to work. Men don't get that right. They put work far too high because you get to control more, makes your ego feel good, but you don't have better relationships with your wives. You don't have better relationships with your kids. And ultimately, you are less successful with your business precisely because you're forced to do business under the duress of not even being healthy. And I do not mean enablement. I don't mean that. So I didn't understand. I knew coming to Ohio, and it happened too. Like I ran into corruption as soon as we got back. I had a bid accepted on a big, huge home, and my bride would have none of that. It's ridiculous. We could never afford. You can't. We're not. What are you? Fear always has its justifications. Fear never is able to recognize something that's exceptional because they'd rather carry a lie. They attack the exceptional. And there's this house in Hudson. Ran into the crimes. You couldn't get away from it. You know who has more natural gas than Colorado? Ohio. You know where you gotta spend more money for your natural gas? Ohio. It's not because things are being done correctly. It can't be. There's no accountability. So how do we resolve peacefully would be the way that Albert would phrase it. I would say, who gives a shit about Albert? Let's go for most effective. What's the most effective way to resolve this problem? Where the fact that we do such a poor job of reading and knowing the Constitution ourselves, nor encouraging another to know and understand that Constitution, and so we would tolerate public servants violating the shit out of the entire United States Constitution. If that's true, we should be killing all of them. That is true, and we should be killing all of them. Please don't. I set the example for peace for 3,440 some days now. And I want to share with you why. Because my kids couldn't understand, like, it wasn't bad ideas are like a pathogen. And so when a bad idea hangs out with a bunch of other people, the weakest ones will pick up that bad idea and want to do it too. You know who's very weak? People who are ill. You know who else is very weak? People who are evil. So somebody who's mentally ill or evil, they're going to pick up a bad idea and run with it like crazy. So there was this wildfire going through the school that my kids were going to of a bunch of people getting divorced. And there's an entire system that's allowed to exist to predate on and take advantage of those who are failing. A government that faces no accountability to the Constitution, when they build a net, it's not a safety net. The net is the predation. Precisely because Elon Musk has a ton of money, his local law enforcement minds the fact that his Constitution exists. Precisely because you have no name, no money, no ID on a bicycle, you might not have rights to exist through the evening. Just make an assumption. Oh, that's a drug addict. Oh, that's this. Oh, that's that. And they'll just start beating you to death. We're not going to let the likes of that around this town. Not my town. And you know what you'll find because of the United States government, particularly our courts, certainly our prosecutors, have not only failed to feed on public servants, they have a shitty track record of actually defending the United States Constitution. That when you come to them with a real problem that's true, they don't actually help you. They belittle you and dismiss you. But that didn't happen. You go to the city of Akron police and you say, like, listen, this lady got up and went to work today. And this lady took my kids because of a picture of a Weatherby shotgun and an 1891 Winchester 22 hanging on a wall. You can see the ceiling in the picture and the breeches are open. Not that any of that shit should matter. And that's the reason that they took away my kids, because they cared about my kids. Oh, well, I mean, that can't happen. Yeah, we'll fix it. Who did that? Whatever that judge is over there in the domestic court. Oh, we can't help you. Sorry. Try contacting the city of Akron prosecutors. They won't ever answer you. They'll non-respond. Your neighbor who's a sheriff, he'll say, well, I'm too close to retirement. You can't ask me to risk that much. It'll be the same argument that, imagine being a judge who's facing federal charges. You're no longer going to be a judge. Most likely, they can slow everything down so it will keep you out of jail. That's what you have facing you. And you know it's coming and you're on the bench. And something like me comes up to you and says, hey, all these bad things are happening. Help me. Just like I'm doing right now, describing it the same way as I'm describing it right now. Didn't do anything to do that. Wanted to exploit me more. But what he didn't do was his job in defending the Constitution. Just like all those attorneys the ex saw. The kids are being criminally abused. I'm being criminally abused. The home's not safe. Jesus, kid comes into school and tells the school that. The school can sit there and pretend. But if it does it to a court, if it does it to the legal system, they can say, oh, well, I mean, we don't have a specific law that forces us to, and you're always chasing the minutia. And you never get it right because you haven't once, or it's been so rare, actually defended the United States Constitution. How can immunity exist? We're all equally yoked to what's self-evident and true. They let companies, they let corporations violate the Constitution all the time. They say, well, it's not for companies, it's about limiting government. No, it's about limiting whatever it is you want to label that censors freedom of speech, that censors what a person's internal dialogue gets to be, what censors their relationship with God is going to be, and enforces it by the removal of their Second Amendment. Because if you're not grown up, if you have to live off the land, which means you're taking the life of plants, you're taking the life of fungi, you're taking the life of animals. You exist because you take life. What are you going to do today to pay for that debt? I couldn't get over how many people weren't willing to help me. I got drugged and mugged. I woke up with a jailable offense pinned to my chest, never being interviewed. They were going to send me to jail for a crime, and 0 people asked me what happened. 0 people pulled footage from a camera system. 0. That asshole has drugs in him. He's a drug addict. Throw his ass in jail. And don't listen to anything he has to say because he's a drug addict. I can give you endless examples in Ohio where the person looking at, they knew everything about it. I know this, blah. 0 why, 0 curiosity. Hey, 0 listening to them of actually saying, oh my God, that's horrible. What can I do to help you? Shout out to a wonderful preacher in Akron who, when he learned about it, was like, oh my God, can I get you blankets? And I was like, thank you very much. Can I give you a big hug for that? I'm good. Use them for somebody. Use them for the others, please. I prayed for a life like Robin Hood. You go live in the forest with everything hunting you until you're able to figure out how to help so many other people in the same boat that you feel fantastic being you. Two hours at a clip. We can keep going. We'll do a couple of long forms because it removes the whole faking what I am, like somebody trying to play a game at what they're trying to be rather than just being what it is they are. I went to the federal building to Cyberlink for help. At some point it just became how many people, if interacting with the government is a tar baby, how can I use that inclination, their nature, to my advantage? And they all can't be bad. There has to be a public servant worth a damn. I've been reaching out to public servants in other counties. Chris Yaswick had a caretaker that sat on city council. I spoke in depth with her about all these problems. What'd she do? She knew of all these endless crimes that Summit County commits. What'd you do to help them? What are you doing to help me? Why are you pretending you're a good person when you've done nothing to help my kids? In the face of crimes that obligate me to kill you. I'm eating at lunch in Hudson with a Masonic brother, and somebody we know gets elected, and so they're there drinking some beers, all happy because they got elected. Oh man, what's going on? Well, I'm yada yada. This is my buddy Jim. I need to have a conversation with you right now. You got a huge problem going on. And I told him exactly what was happening to me, exactly all the steps, and guess what? Dismissed, belittled. No, you didn't. Every time interacting with that court, once I heard like all that I was a drug-addled alcoholic, yada yada, get my kids help. Get my kids counseling. Won't cost them anything. Give them counseling. The counselor signed by the court. Well, why would you say that? Let's assume one of these parties is being honest and true. Then kids of a drug-addled alcoholic who's abusing them and their mom, they need counseling, and they should be getting that. And if I am the primary caregiver, the housewife, who walks those kids to school, does homework for those kids, cooks them meals, washes the clothes, takes them to the physician's appointments, does all the paperwork so they could go to school, is being removed from those kids because some other party is lying and putting their ego first, displaying mental illness in their actions. Those kids need help. So, would you help those kids? No, I'm not going to do that. Fine, I am the drug-addled alcoholic who's criminally abusing those kids. Can you now please get those kids some counseling? I started going, no, the answer is no then too, by the way. I started going to domestic courts in surrounding counties to Summit. And you know what I got to watch? I got to watch a judge get in a pissing contest with a father. You don't think I can do that? Watch me. Takes away kids. The father's so distraught because he knows the truth that those kids, if that mom gets them, is going to kill them. And when the mom kills the kids, he's going to kill that judge. And he tells that judge that. He goes to jail. The mom kills the kids. He gets to be tried for why he's a criminal for telling the judge that. You know who didn't even have to step down, let alone actually have the Constitution enforced? We're going to pretend he's a hero. So let's go back to Judge Kim Hoover, who I explained everything that was going on when I was in front of him wrongfully for being drugged and mugged. When I told my defense attorney all the things that were going on. When I sent a letter to the prosecutor of the city that was working against me. Since the charges were thrown out, what are you going to do to help me now? What are you doing to help me? Send it to the mayor? Send it to the police chief of that shit town? What'd they ever do? Threaten their lives? What did they ever do? I had friends that were like, you know what? Pay. We'll get you money. Jim, I make so much money. We can sustain this fight. Don't even worry about it, brother. I got you. That was my best friend. The same guy that saved my life when I wanted to kill myself. He had me right then. Broke my heart because I couldn't give him the gift, that gift of allowing to help me. Because that ain't leadership. Of great things given, great things shall be required. And having my friends buy my way out of a problem isn't leadership. And if it's hitting something like me, how many other people are facing this who are going to have no idea of how to comprehend, see, understand what's going on. What chance would they ever have? Again, the vets are killing themselves at the highest rates because of the crimes of the domestic courts. Look at what they're doing to the rest of us, the untrained, the gentle, the soft, the naive, the loving. You're letting a public servant get so high in a priority chain of health that they're going to force somebody to attack their spouse, the parent of their kid. They're going to force somebody to pay money to remove time and the presence of love of parents from their own kid. And the court take profits off that. And make no mistake, world, the United States, Summit County ran advertisements in the newspapers on Valentine's Day for decades, trying to get the moms to turn in the deadbeat dads. Turn them in on Valentine's Day. You got a deadbeat dad, yeah. Turn them in. See, the more bad ideas need a lot of peripheral support. They need a lot of enablement. Is that defending the United States Constitution? The fact the county prosecutor did that, is that evidence of defending the United States Constitution? Imagine being a criminal and being a judge, and you get handed me this bellwether. I knew I was going to be tested, so I gave my best. I wasn't worried about what I needed to hide or pretend to be. I'm going to just be my best, and I'm going to give it hell. I'm going to try to find the decision that I could live with. I'm going to try to find the answer that my grandfather and my kid and my grandkids could all be proud of. I'm going to chase that to the best of my ability with everything I got. Law enforcement won't care. Like, so many dudes get relief from the fact, like, they look at all the ways they failed in their marriage, and then they hit something like me. I forced my ex to live in the top 10 most affluent towns. Boulder County, Colorado. Hudson in Ohio. God, what a monster. Oh, what a savage. And affluency doesn't mean you're better as a human being, by the way. But it also means that somebody who can maintain that through time has a skill set. They have competence. So then your local Eagle Scout, the local kid growing up to being friends with this hero, John Glenn, shows up in your court and is like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Turns out to be given that ticket illegally still costs you like $1,000 or $2,000 goes to the court. They profit. They profit when everybody around them commits crimes. And then they pretend, oh, I'm defending the Constitution as I do this. It's a whole different set of federal crimes right there. And I asked that judge, my kids are being criminally abused. What are you doing to help them? You're having me come look at your building to do work at your building. My kids are being criminally abused today, premeditated, and I want to know what you're doing to help them. I want you to know what you're doing to try to help me, since my kids were taken because of that gun on the wall, and every damn law has been completely ignored in that damn court. What are you doing to help me? Now, let's pretend that judge was actually a decent human being who did their best as a public servant and as such probably did more good than harm. You just got, at the end of your career, you just got the easiest lob coming across the plate for you to get the best chance to hit a home run off of. Did he take that chance? No, he did not. He got in line to try to figure out how he could exploit me. Oh, you don't have a home? Oh, you don't have any licensure? Oh, well, that's too bad. What do you mean you don't have any licensure? Who took away your license? How's that happen? Well, it turns out in Summit County, if you go ask the police for help and the county prosecutor for help and all these people for help, the pushback from that is all your licensure in the state is removed. 2 weeks after your first hearing. You don't need any of that. Get that letter and get that threat out right on the table. He needs to learn who he's playing ball with. Judge didn't, just like the other judge didn't care, like, oh my God, those kids, I'm so sorry to hear that, Rebecca. The kids are being abused, you're being abused, and the house isn't safe. Have you moved out of you? No. Do you still let the dad? Yeah, half the time, about. Do you let the kids be with the dad by themselves? Oh, yeah, sure. He takes them to the point, yeah. No, none of that. Oh my God, you're the victim. I know what's going on. I'm going to be the hero. Somebody has to care about the kids. Zero people defending the Constitution. And you know what nobody in Ohio should ever do? Is own their land. Because you don't. The county will use any 1,000 different ways to separate you from your land. Precisely because the law only exists for those who can purchase access to it in the state of Ohio. You got to buy it. You got to buy it. And when you have a mortgage, you have a bank filled with attorneys and an institution that has given your criminals, your overlords, the largest amounts of money. So they're not going to screw with them. But who are you? And once they criminally abuse you horribly enough once, guess what? That example has been set, and a whole bunch of them are going to do the same damn things to you. So I'm so sorry for that. It's a problem of abusing kids. You tag them in a way that other people who are abusers know. And so they go from the predation of one to the predation of all. Now, my kids wanted to know, because I took them to their doctor's appointments, how can I justify I'm a housewife? I did all the paperwork to get those kids into that school. I filled out all the applications. I filled out all the scholarship forms. And on our taxes we filed jointly. You know what my job description was? Housewife. I giggle when I filled it in, because being in the presence of something that's true, hell yeah, it feels good. I'll own it. There's no reason somebody should. It's not because I have my priorities wrong. It's because that guy who started Little Tykes and Step 2, Mr. Murdo, that Hudsonite. Oh, I trade everything for more time with my kids, particularly when they're younger. It goes so quick. It's so easy. I do that. When I heard him say that, I heard truth. You know, the guy who has more money than me, lives in a house that's nicer than me, takes trips nicer than me, he's telling me something important. He's telling me something that's true. Who cares about savings at retirement? Everybody in a retirement home wishes they had spent more time with their kids when they were young. Why not use the money then? We don't have a mortgage. How much money do we possibly need? Now, the sad part isn't watching somebody that I love, in essence, pick a fight with reality and God for the sake of her own fear and egos. It's watching her brag about it to her friends and to the court. Oh, he'll never see those kids. Why would he ever see those kids? And then the dad tells the court again and again, hey, that's what she's doing. Ask her. She'll tell you. Help me, please. Nobody helps. You're supposed to grow up. And what you do is you go borrow more money from more friends and get another attorney. And if you lose an attorney, I lost an attorney. Hey, I'm the housewife.
Go get me. Go. You want money paid, Wendy Creveling? Go get it from the bread earner of the family. You know why she didn't? I'll tell you why. Because the entire court is a criminal racketeering organization designed and operating to extort the most amount of funds possible from failing families. Because the net is the predation. Because the city of Akron police are fine. You know what they didn't do at all today? Is they didn't pull up a court document to see, is what this guy's saying true? You would think that a bunch of bitter people who have been ground through that system, oh my God, you mean I can finally ramrod a judge into jail? But they don't do it. If I keep repeatedly asking for help, every time I've interacted with public servants, I've asked for help with this, and I've been given none. And as time goes on, it's even more and more easy for the world to pretend that I'm not exceptional in my choices and what I've done. $3,400 days you don't get to see your fucking kids. You don't get to talk to them. You don't get to go to birthdays with them. You don't get to go to Christmas with them. And from day one, the breadwinner, like that was their goal. As though there were never, like, and let's knock the shit off. Like they did the same thing to housewives that were women in the 60s, burying them in frivolous lawsuit, bleed out their money, then take away all their legal rights because they had to buy their rights to the law. And the problem back then wasn't solved by the need of new law. It would have been solved by enforcing the United States Constitution against public servants. What do you mean you're taking away kids from Americans with nobody sworn in, with no evidence? And then the evidence you want to give is because goddad's walking the kid to church. Or the evidence you want to give is because of the rifle hanging on a wall. Can you see better now the genius of that retard fella named Chris? In that innocence, just being completely present, looking at everybody in their best. All right! The genius behind Albert? When you pretend that you're different than Ben Franklin, when you pretend you're different than Elon, when you pretend you're different from Hitler, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself. And even for those that can be exceptionally correct in the most heinous, exceptional of environments, we're built of more failures than we are of getting it right. That's how we became masterful. We failed more than everybody else until like, no, that ain't gonna work. Sorry, that ain't gonna work. When I bought my house in Akron, I bought it at a arm's length deal from the federal government. Bought it at an auction from HUD. 55 grand. Paid cash. Took cash to closing. Done. Guess what the tax value on that home was? Wasn't the sale price. Filled out letters. Went to meetings. Endlessly tried to correct it. There's no correcting it. You want something correct, you got to buy the right attorney. You want something correct, you better be on somebody's campaign donation schedule. Now here's the other problem with management. How can you manage a thing that you've never actually used or needed? You know why prisons are horrible? Because the people who run them didn't have to go through them as a customer. You want to run a prison? You get locked up in the prison that you're going to run for a week. And everybody there gets fed a bullshit story of why you're there. And you're going to see how that thing actually works. Betcha a lot of the nonsense they do would be gone like that. If you want to manage a thing, you must be part of the thing. How many public servants in Ohio actually have needed any of the systems that were there? There's so many supposed safety nets. And as I contact them or try to endlessly and endlessly, all I find out is they're either a lie or they're another level of predation. 3,400 days. It's just heartbreaking. I mean, it's over that. It's over that. It's over 3,400 days. And the beautiful part of that I could be like, yeah, I mean, pride's a mistake. Humble's better. And the only reason that I could do it is because of like people who like in this home. Beautiful, healthy American families who are able to have their priorities correct. They take care of themselves, they take care of their spouse, they take care of the kids, they then go to work. They have this huge bounty. They're happy to share with their neighbor. Of course, we do charity. Dude, I get to finally do charity. Somebody I know, a face. Oh, how can I help you? Get in here. Get over to Christmas. Get in here for Easter. Oh, get in here. We're going to go take a vacation together. I'm not being allowed to practice love with my kids. As a parent, how do you fill that void when you lose your kids? You will be less. You will be unhealthy if you do not practice love with children. You became a parent. Doesn't matter that you don't have kids anymore. How are you going to keep practicing that basic need for your success? You need to be kind, patient, humble, grateful, forgiving. You got to be doing that with kids. You need to be doing that with mothers and wives. How are you going to do that? I asked God that question. Next day, I got this Masonic brother, Chris Yazwick. Dude, get into my house. You're living with us. Why didn't you tell us? I could organize, like we could have just had movers just take everything out of that. Will you strip it clean? Why didn't you do that? I went to the police. How do you just take this home? Oh, well, you owed money. If I owe taxes to federal government, it's a crime if they take my home. If I owe taxes to state government, it's a crime for them to take the home. Why is it all of a sudden pretended to be okay for a county to do it? Oh, I mean, it's just the way it is. Did you set your home up in this level of trust with this level of thing and this level of thing? In essence, making it such a fiscal nightmare for them to try to get to you to take it? No. Oh, well, then you didn't own anything. I learn out that that's how living in Summit County is. Of great things given, great things shall be required. So my kids didn't understand is this bad idea of divorce bubbled up in this private school. The kids were confused. Why are all the dads being taken away? I don't understand. What's going on? And once they saw it was happening to them, they asked their other friends, oh, yeah, that's why is this happening? And we had saw a movie about a superhero who didn't want to be a superhero anymore. He was tired. He didn't want to do it anymore. And the other one was just inclining the worst part of himself. And then in the course of the movie, they both lose something because of that. And then they start fulfilling what it is their purpose was to be. And they find more joy and happiness and everything works better. I can't be healthy if you don't fulfill your purpose. You can't be healthy unless I fulfill my purpose. Of great things given, great things should be required. So, one other story about who I am. That'd be a good one to pick from. So, I'm going to school at this college, and it's ridiculous what they charge for parking. I mean, it's nuts. I got a parking pass for my motorcycle, and I'm parking on a motorcycle. So I'm working for GE, and then I'm going to this college, and I'm parking the motorcycle. And I'm walking past all these meters, and these kids are getting like $200 tickets, 160, 200, 220. Who cares? They're getting charged a fortune because there isn't a quarter. The hell is that? Like these kids aren't paying enough. Like their parents didn't pay enough. Like their grandparents didn't pay enough. The hell is that? And so I would take $10, $20 of quarters each day, and I'd get myself something nice to drink. And I'd have a big smile on my face, and I'd walk with my backpack, listen to music, happy. And instead of throwing the things back in the ocean, I would just feed up all the meters. But I felt great just the same. And then I got arrested. This big fat black woman. You can't do that. Why? You're big and you're fat. And if you keep paying, I'm going to arrest you. Yeah. Like a meter maid. A college meter maid's going to arrest me for paying a meter. I call bullshit. Honey, I'm not going to stop paying them. Cop cars roll up, surround me. Cuffs go on too tight. Shoulder and head hits parts of car. Shoulder and head hits to open things. Then you get to a room. Really nice guy. You got to make a phone call, man. And I'm sitting at, like, I'm assuming it's his desk. But it's a desk where he spends, like, all day working. Do I got to dial anything to get out? Yeah. So I call up, and I dial GE's attorneys. They got a whole building of attorneys. And I was working with one of them a whole bunch because I was doing business that involved scales of tens of millions of dollars with a Middle Eastern country. And that's going to require a lot of attorneys to be involved. And so I knew the number. I'm terrible at names, but I was good at numbers. I dialed that number endlessly all day. It's the top of my damn notebook for months. Dial that number, dial that number. I dialed them. Hey, I got arrested for paying this. Jim, I'm going to stop you right there. I don't think you understand what we do. Save your breath. Let me explain what I think I understand. I think I understand that you're a huge business and nobody spends more money on public servants in the state of Colorado than you. And I think you're going to go figure out and find out how much money I'm involved with in generating for you guys. And I'm not going to go to work. I'm going to sit here. They're going to bring me food. I'm not going to have to work for my food. I'm not going to have to work for drink. And I ain't doing shit. And if you'd ever like to see me at work again, you're going to need to tell me why this law or whatever's going on is getting fixed. And you're going to send in a limo and pick me up. And I hung up the phone. And that cop sitting there, he looked like a little kid in front of Santa Claus. He was like, holy shit. Dude, that was awesome. Do you want to make another phone call? No, I'm good. I mean, come on. You want to call somebody else? Well, I mean, I guess I should try to call my wife and my best friend, let them know what's going on. I tried. I didn't get an answer. I'm good. Well, all right, man. We got this cell over here. You feel like he was asking me if I was okay with it. He wasn't looking at me like a criminal anymore. I'm good. Lay down. Can I have some place I can lay down so I could just take a nap? Oh yeah, I gotcha. Come on over this one. Lay down, took a nap. Woke up. The guy was smiling even more. You're out of here. What? Yeah. There's a limo outside, and like we got a lot of calls from like a lot of high up on the food chain. You're out of here. Am I? I got to make a phone call first. May I please use the phone? Yeah. All right. Well, who you calling? You'll see. Call the attorney again. How's this law getting rid of? What? I'm not going to work for you. I'm not leaving here just because you picked me up. I'm leaving here when I understand what the hell just happened and what's being done so that it's never going to happen again. Well, there has to be a reading. We're going to have 3 readings, and then we get that fixed, and that's all going to get changed. I did not count that year, by the way, as my Eagle Scout project. That was just somebody screwing around, interrupting something that I was doing that was good. I was a college student. You know how nice it would have been if I was saying, like, shit, I'm going to get a ticket. Damn it, I didn't get back to that meter. Oh, I'm so tired of this. And then you get back and the meter, what do you mean it's full? They're all full. Are they broke? What's going on? No, there's just this crazy guy with a big smile on his face that just pays all of them as he walks past. I am thankful that Ohio is so corrupt. I am thankful that Summit County and City of Akron Police and City of Talmadge and shout out to the prosecutor Monroe Falls. Definitely everything at the county level. Not once did somebody defend the Constitution. Not once did somebody defend state law. They got it so abhorrently wrong when I would go try to find attorneys. Well, what's going on? Like my buddy Chris. Get in here, Jim. You'll be part of the family. I'll get you an attorney. Here, I got one. Go see him. I'm paying him. Go, 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 go. All right. Well, this is what happened. No, I didn't. Not even willing to open up a document and read it to see if anything I'm saying is true. Nobody cares because everybody already knows. Everybody already has cast their fear forward. So for 3,400 days of asking for help, sending letters with material evidence where I threaten the lives of public servants. What kind of good American are you if you're not willing to kill somebody running a debtor's prison? I told my neighbors in Akron, dude, I'd said the same thing to the ones in Colorado. They were worried about Y2K. In Akron, they were on to this next fear. You don't got to worry about that. They're not going to be able to round up Jews and put them on trains in the United States. Why? Because Americans, we'd all take positions in our homes and we cut down every one of those sons of bitches. Turns out that's not true. We'll let them do it. Law enforcement will help them to do it. The judiciary will be doing it for their own profit. Welcome to Ohio. I've said, like in Masons, dear Lord my God, is there no help for the widow's son? I put up messages where I was threatening lives, begging for helps to a president as part of an election campaign so that the message cannot be interfered with. I'm trying to make it more federal laws to get in the way of this message. I'll do it with this one. State of Ohio, if you think anything that I've said is reasonable or are displays of leadership, or you would like to just see a commoner who's been ground up by the system to go ahead and be put in charge of cleaning it up. If you would like to know whether or not you actually have a freely elected system in the state of Ohio, I want you to write the initials JJ in. Just write it in. If you don't like the choice of either person for some shit county job or city job, I want you to just write the initials JJ. Just write JJ. Stop pretending choosing evil over another evil is what you have to do. And wherever you put me, I will do the most good I can. Then there was a reason when I got to go to Buckeye Boys States, and it wasn't because I was making a bunch of mistakes. There's also reasons I only missed that election by a couple of votes, and I mean a handful of them. I've also volunteered in every community that I've lived in, again and again. How can I help? What can I do how can I help, man? I got Eagle Scout projects to do every year. What's this year's going to be? So I told my kids about that movie. I was like, well, if your dad was born really bright, of great things given, great things should be required. I grew up with hardship. I prayed for all these things that are happening to happen to me. Which means if I can go through it and I can just be honest, like Solzhenitsyn, if I can just be honest, then the whole system gets broken, falls apart. And instead of being an alcoholic, running away to a different, killing myself with drugs, just killing myself with a gun, running away and fleeing the crimes of Ohio to another state, and then pretending like, well, what are you going to do? We could actually have been part of the difference. And so I've tried to go through the experience to my best, knowing damn well that everything I'm doing today or tomorrow or the next day or last week or last month, it's all going to be in a court. It's either going to be in a court from peace because public servants start doing their damn jobs, or it'll be in court because inevitably, when you start slaughtering tyranny, at some point they're going to put you in a court. $3,400 And if you see any humanity in me currently, it's a complete result to the wonderful human beings and families that have invited me around and had me around. And I have tried to pick where I am by two things: my abilities to contribute to the family, and one, and two, like what can I give? What could I actually give and help them with? And two, are they willing to invite me and have me be around? And there's good reason for that. To be in the presence of something honest and something true is to be transformed. To have somebody present who's going to like love on you and treat you like you're his kids that were taken from him. They're his brother he never got to have. Isn't that what I owe somebody who's like, the only reason I can exist and be healthy is if I get the opportunity today to love on a family. To love on a family. And what I didn't want is I didn't want the opportunity cost for trying to fight such a heinous, ugly, evil thing to leave me a monster. I don't want someday when I overcome these crimes and I'm restored with my kids and my kids are restored with me and everything that's taken we're made whole. And I get peace to know that all those families that got, like, this is what bothers you. Bothers me and bothers a bunch of other people who have ever been in this position. It's all the others that it's happening to. You think I'm the only horrific federal crime Judge Cook committed? She goes to work and does it every damn day. You think Randall Lowry as a shit attorney, he made his whole career off of extorting families at the expense of criminally abusing those kids. That's what evil does when you enable it, when you don't have any accountability. You get these perfect bubbles. Somehow, everybody involved in a court has to have a doctorate in the Constitution because everybody's going to be defending that, because when you don't, you're seeding violence into society. Yet then everybody there can completely pretend like that doesn't exist, state laws don't exist. We're going to sit off record in the back figuring out how we can all cut up and make the most amount of money from this family. Well, Jim, if you want me to be your attorney, listen, you're not asking for much, so it's, but I mean, you're going to pay, so if you got it, doesn't necessarily need to be yours. You can do it through a rich uncle. If you just pass $15,000, you mean to have half the time with my own kids and keep the house that has no mortgage for those kids I got to pay $15,000 to access what's already guaranteed to me in state law and federal law. And when I said no, the attorney, drop you. I get lectured from the judge. I get attacked from the judge. I'm not playing ball. I go ask for more help. I get further criminal abuses. I pleaded to help for multiple mayors. If this is what's happening in your city, should you be alive? If you're a police chief and the largest criminal abuser of kids by their own numbers, 90% of the time when criminal child abuse is present, Summit County Domestic Court places those kids with their abuser. They don't do it because somebody's trying to chase honesty. They do it because everybody there is predating off of you. You have 0 state rights and 0 federal rights. And don't worry, even if you are the horrific example where it never happened before and these horrible crimes happened to me. Oh yeah? Then why has nobody come to aid? How many police do you got to ask? What's the magic passphrase to get a county sheriff to do their fucking job? How about a county prosecutor? How about a city prosecutor? How about a mayor? How about a congressional representative? How about a senator? How about a state prosecutor? How about a governor? I mean, if I'm obligated to kill evil in Summit County, what's the odds that all the rest of the counties aren't equally broken? And if the other counties aren't as broken in the state of Ohio, well, that's awesome. Then how fast should the help be coming to me here in Summit County? So why wouldn't I approach city council members of like neighboring cities and neighboring towns? Why would I sound any different when I got to go to sleep last night knowing my kids had their dad removed, ripped out of their fucking life, their home that had no mortgage ripped out of their life, all their inheritance of their possessions ripped out of their fucking life by public servants criminally, to be abused by the parent who said, those kids will never know their father. Why should they? He hasn't paid me a dime. Premeditated criminal child abuse by somebody clinically diagnosed cluster B as she graduated college. But when you give that evidence to the court, that requires reading. And you know what attorneys don't do? They lie. They don't read. They skim. They don't read. So you know what? When I read a bunch of things in the beginning that says, oh, that's just ADD, hyperactive, attention, I don't need to keep reading this. But then when the last 2 shrinks come in from high school through college and like, no, we're in the cluster B on this one. Oh, that changes things. Does she actually said to the court that she intends for those kids to never see the dad? Oh, yeah. Guardian ad litem, her own attorney, all her friends, neighbors, right in front of the kids. So then when your kids, as you become in Robin Hood, like you asked, and though your kids are sneaking you a potato because they hear all day, kiddo, and she had tears. She was heartbroken. She couldn't bring me more. I was like, did you get caught trying to bring me a bunch of food? She just nodded her head with tears. God bless you, kiddo. You're awesome. Don't ever stop doing that. Everything you did right there is perfect and healthy. But do it for others that need. Don't do it. You don't have to do it for me. What do you mean? I'll be fine, love. I'll be okay. Are you willing, if your dad actually had a chance of fixing these crimes once and for all, would you be willing to sacrifice your dad for that? To not be able to see your dad, not have your dad around? Would you be willing to do that? My son answered first. I apologize. Asking your kids that question is the most horrible thing to do to kids in the world. It should never happen. But you know what? They're already in it. It's already happening. You know how I build them a lifeline to mental health? I give them choice. You're going to choose to be here. I can make all of this go away like right now. And I mean right now. Violently. All this will stop. But it probably won't fix it for everybody. The way you fix it from everybody is I'm supposed to use a system, and the system's slow. We just need like one person who's honest to go through that system. And at some point, like somebody's got to help. There's this Russian guy, took down the whole Soviet Union just by being honest. I can do it. Mike answered first. Go get him, Dad. Yeah, go get him, Dad. Yeah, Dad. 3 times I asked them that question. 3 times they signed on. So if your kids have already been criminally abused for 1,000 days, are you willing to pay $200 to then get to justice? Would you be willing to pay any amount of money 3,000 days in? I want to pretend that, I've said the same thing the entire time. The entire time. You know what seemingly has yet to happen? One public servant actually do their job. One. And make no mistake, Ohio, I'm not suggesting we kill all of them yet. I want us to talk honestly about the damn sword of Damocles that hangs above our heads. Breaks my heart. You mean I get the life of Robin Hood, but my sheriff of Nottingham is called Sheriff Fat Tree? Instead of some fat, evil sheriff of Nottingham who can kind of shoot an arrow, it's this doughy, fat, horrific excuse of a human being, woman. I just got to kill that and I'm hero? You know how weak and pathetic Mike DeWine is? I just have to kill that and I can be a hero. You know, the prosecutor that's fine with banks dealing in usury, dealing in slavery in the state of Ohio. A governor that's fine with the state Supreme Court ruling twice that the funding of our schools is unconstitutional, yet the county never came into compliance. Have any counties ever come into compliance with that? What's the point of having law? It'd feel great. That kid who wanted to kill everybody in that concentration camp, it would feel great. The Hulk? Jesus. Can you imagine what the Hulk would do to Mike DeWine? Can you imagine what a Hulk would do to that disgusting vet that then worked at the county sheriff and does this to the American citizens? Is the pointy part of the spear of their brother's suicides? They had an integrity, they killed themselves. I'm not encouraging you to do any of that. Violence delayed is violence magnified. You know what we can do? We can set the example of practicing love and peace in the face of our tyranny as we speak plainly about that which it is. And let this message go. Where's the help? Federal government. I asked you for help, President Trump. I'll put up that, I can post that recording next. You want to pretend I didn't go as a Cyberlink building? I recorded it. I got endless piles of recordings. I had more of them. But Microsoft figured out what I had, and they just stole everything and deleted it. Didn't matter, I was paying. Yet to find detective at Summit County Sheriff calls me up when I'm in the Oswick's home. Put it on speaker so everybody there can hear me. Dude, record this. Chris gets right on his phone, starts recording it. My kids are being criminally abused, premeditated by their mother. How are you going to help me? Well, I'm not going to do anything to help you. My kids were taken because of a rifle. We're not here for that. Call the FBI. They won't even finish listening to what the problem is. They just dismiss you, belittle you, pretend to hang up on you. But there's no dial tone. Bet you they're recording right now. Let's just go on a rant to these motherfuckers what I think of them and what's going on. Just like I would if they were in this room right now. Let's threaten the lives right now of public servants to the FBI so they get their asses over here and start doing their damn jobs. Because I haven't lied about any of it. You know what the FBI does? They feed you back to your abuser. They feed you back to the county. So you'll get called up by the county and you'll get threatened more. But you won't get any help. Some of my friends are like, "Oh, you should. When are you gonna start like getting a job, owning stuff, rebuilding? Man, you should be into rebuilding. What the hell does a slave rebuild anything for? I can own nothing. Why would I even try? What do I care? You can't own land in Ohio. You certainly can't. If you could, somebody would have done something through any part of these endless crimes since I've entered the state. The only thing this county and the state has done is just keep stacking more and more and more of them on top. So to the federal government, to the President of the United States, I beseech you, sir, where is the aid for me and my children? Where is it? I go and I gave lecture series at Rotaries and Kiwanis throughout the whole state. I'd get lines of people spending hours telling me about all these horrific crimes that their county did to them. They finally felt like, oh my God, I'm not alone. I can finally share the worst day ever with somebody. You know what a beautiful service it is to do that for lines of people again and again and again? Where's the aid? I got a friend, Hickenlooper. He became a mayor. He then became a governor. When he got his first book deal, he wanted somebody to write a foreword for him. And he's like, dude, it's you. It's got to be you, Jim. So you think I know how to use a system? You think I could behave well? You think I would be able to get some fucking aid? Last time, Mr. President, you sent aid to me, Summit County stole all of it out of my bank account. It didn't matter that I only had like $20, was homeless, with no licenses, and no access to my kids, and all my personal property had been stolen, and my land with no mortgage had been stolen. Not stolen for eminent domain to make a park, stolen so that the county could profit. Didn't go to my kids, didn't go to my ex. Never saw a nickel from it. Just took. The stuff inside the house. The county sheriff didn't make sure I got it. County sheriff made sure I didn't get it. Threatened me physical violence, threatened me arrest. You can't come anywhere near your personal property ever again. And they made sure that the shit that they paid to have movers take out of that house was all of nothing of value. Everything of value is going to stay in that house. Real silver, real Lenox, real Waterford crystal, original art, first editions of books. Why would I ever interact with that society ever again? If you're the Jew and the Nazis have come for you, oh, you should be investing in the Mark. Oh, you should be investing in Bear. Oh, you should be investing in Pickett. No, that's not what they should be doing. How am I any different? I got on to Facebook, everywhere else. If I got the truth, I don't need to hide it. I need to speak it. And I got censored. Wildly censored. I didn't get help. I didn't get aid. So I ask you, my decent father, my good father, My name is Jim K. Jeffries. I am of sound mind. Everything I have said is as honest as I possibly can be. So sound off in those comments. You give me good ideas. Oh, well, you should contact. They have attorneys for. You'll never hear from them. If you're poor, you'll never hear from him. The system is designed. The net is the predation. You can watch them die. You can watch them get killed. You can watch them get locked up. But what you won't get to watch is those victims actually getting any help. Welcome to Ohio. James Kenneth Jeffries Jr., formerly of Akron. Homeless. Made homeless. Not made homeless through my poor decisions. Made homeless through one crime after another crime. Well, I mean, you didn't pay that bill. You mean the bill that was based off of an arm's length transaction that was never correct? Well, yeah, but I mean, you just got to pay the wrong bill and then you get an attorney and you buy. So you mean I have to spend money to get to my basic federal rights? Oh, well, you don't understand. Like, the domestic court can't be perfect. It's going to make mistakes. So all you got to do is you got to go to this next court and you get more money. And then you go to this next court and go more money. Meanwhile, all that's happened is there's been a ton more trauma being given to your kids and a whole lot of resources being left from those kids so that you could have any chance of any presence as a father. Fuck that. Fuck that. And that's a society worth killing everything in it. Everything in it. Jordan, Dr. Peterson, I love you. You set a beautiful example. If you were part of that society, you would be included in everything that should die in that culture. Everything. There's no reason to not burn everything to the damn ground. And the only thing that's kept me healthy, practicing kindness, humility, gratitude, forgiveness, because I can rejoice in truth, you can be present enough to think of questions, good questions to ask. And I have been of wonderful service to the families that have been so gracious to invite me in. I'm desperate to do it. Not because I want their validations, but because by me doing it's the only way I can get my own validations. So I can have any chance of being healthy, either as an American or as a father. Where's my aid? It's international communities. I'm not above it. Is somebody in this world willing to open up a checkbook and get me and my fucking kids the hell out of here so that we can begin to be restored? Where do I fill out the paperwork so the United States Constitution could exist? Where can I fill out paperwork so I can have half the time with my kids? What do I do for that? Do I got to get in line and buy rights to all of that? Or maybe on the 4th of July, maybe there's just so many awesome Americans in Ohio that instead of fireworks, we just start shooting everybody. Sheriffs, prosecutors, the judiciary, retired judges. You want to pretend there's a good retired judge in the state of Ohio? Their retirement's funded off the money that created by doing this to families in Ohio. Well, what do you want to pretend? That you're one of the good ones even though you took the 30 pieces of silver? I would encourage you, for those that know everything I'm saying is true because you've been forced to live it as well, and you have every reason to be violent, I want you to practice your First Amendment, and I want you to magnify that violence by being peaceful. That's what I'd like you to do for me. And if in this election cycle, I got nothing to do, nobody's going to buy me, I'm not taking any donations. You want to take that really bright guy? Oh, I hear everybody say it. Oh, you know what'd be great is somebody's awesome at proms. Somebody bright as hell like Elon. Oh, that's what we need as a public servant. I wasn't willing. I didn't give up the United States Constitution or state laws for $15,000. Even when it included the criminal abuse of my kids as part of my torture to pressure me to pay that money. Give me a chance. Of course, this can be fixed. It's easy to fix. That'll be my next video. How is it easy to fix?